if the person's doing the vision board and they're saying, when I get my new car, I get my new house, I get my new relationship, then I'm going to feel so great. Well, then they're back to the program, waiting for it to happen for them to feel the emotion. They're believing their outer world has to change in order for them to feel better. There's no effect of drawing the experience to you with that way. So the person has to use those tools to get them into the emotional state for them to feel like it's already happened. Now think about this. If you get up from a creative process and you feel grateful, you feel a love for life, you feel a joy for existence, you feel a passion for the moment, you will not be looking for your future because you'll feel like it's already happened. It's the moment that we start feeling those self-limiting emotions that we feel separation, and then we start looking for it again. And well, then if you're waiting, you're not creating, you're in separation again. So then whatever it takes for you to move into a state of being. And what is a state of being? Thoughts are the vocabulary of the brain. Feelings are the vocabulary of your body. How you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So then if you wake up in the morning and you come back to your senses with a clean slate and you say, I don't feel anything. And you say, well, let me start thinking about all the problems in my life. Well, all those problems are connected to different people or different objects or things at different times and places. The moment you remember your problems, a memory is a record of the past. You're thinking in the past. Every one of those problems has an emotion associated with them. So all of a sudden you start feeling unhappy. You start feeling bitter. You start feeling frustrated. So now your body's in the past. So then most people then create a state of being that's connected to their past. And if they're in the familiar past, then they are going to crave the predictable future and they're going to fall back into routine. So then we want people then to get very clear on that vision of their future, however they do it, and begin to combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion. And the stronger the emotion they feel from the vision they're creating, the more altered they feel inside of them, the more they're going to pay attention to the pictures in their mind. And now they're remembering their future. And biologically, it's exactly the same as remembering your past. In fact, if you're not being defined by a vision in the future, it means you're making your past more real than your future. You're falling in love with your past. You're more in love with your past than you are with your future. That you're believing in your past more than you're believing in your future. When you get to that moment where you have that feeling, that's your compass, because that feeling is going to drive your behaviors. It's going to drive more of those thoughts. And when you feel that feeling and it's visceral, no person, no thing, no experience will stand in the way between you and that vision. And you will be initiated by the universe into wealth. You will be initiated into health. You'll be initiated into freedom. Those people, all those people that have healed themselves of all those different health conditions, they are so humble and so happy, and they feel so great that they would never trade this feeling because of what you thought of them. They've left that program behind a long time ago. They actually don't care how you think of them. They actually are so happy with themselves that they're no longer dependent on anything outside of them. Now, I think that's a really important moment, because that's the moment we give people permission in our lives to do the same, right? And I think that more and more people are beginning to figure that out. I think, everything starts with a thought. I mean, everything that you do in your life, you have to have a thought before you initiate an action, right? So if you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, like any great leader in history understands that, the first thing you have to do is you have to decide, are you going to be defined by a vision of the future, or are you going to live by the memories of the past? So I'll give you an example. Most people wake up in the morning and your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you've learned and experienced to this moment, right? It's a memory bank. So most people wake up in the morning and they start thinking about their problems, and those problems are connected to certain people and things at certain times and places. And the moment they start turning on those circuits, those memories are actually causing them to think in the past. every single one of those memories has an emotion associated with them, and emotions are the end product of past experiences. So then the moment they recall the event, or they recall some problem in their life, they start feeling unhappy, they start feeling discouraged, they start feeling anxious. Now, thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body, and how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So we could say then, most people's entire state of being when they start their day is in the familiar past. Well, if you live in the familiar past, then it makes sense you're going to create the predictable future. So what happens for most people is they get stuck in their biology. So think about this. Your body is your unconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between an experience in your life that creates an emotion and an emotion that you can create by thought alone. So if you're living by the same emotion every single day, and those emotions are influencing your thoughts, and you can't think greater than how you feel, or feelings have become the means of thinking, you're thinking in the past. Your lens of the future is going to be colored by the past, so you can't see possibilities. So most people like to wait for crisis or disease or diagnosis before they wake up enough to see. Well, the challenge is that biology tends to be redundant. So if you keep thinking the same thoughts, and those thoughts begin to fire certain circuits in your brain, the nerve cells that fire together wire together, so all of a sudden you start getting hardwired, and those are the thoughts that you can think the easiest. At the same time, those thoughts produce chemicals called emotions, and the next thing you know, your body gets accustomed to living by the same emotions, and it could be guilt, it could be unhappiness, it could be pain, but at least it's familiar to you, at least you can predict it. So some people would rather cling to the familiar than take a chance in possibilities. So for most people then, they say, well, I don't really see how my thoughts have anything to do with my destiny. Well, that's because 95% of those thoughts are subconscious programs, right? So you're not even conscious that you think those thoughts. So the first step to change is starting to think about what you've been thinking about and change it. And then when you begin to observe those thoughts, you're no longer the program, you're the consciousness observing the program.
Just simply by being an observer of your thoughts.
Right. So most people, though, when you do that, when you decide to really take a look, it's like lighting a match in a dark place. So you feel uncomfortable. So it's easier to turn on your TV, it's easier to play with your cell phone, to distract yourself from those feelings. Well, when you understand that change really requires becoming uncomfortable to a certain degree, and that's normal, that you're leaving the known and you're stepping into the unknown, then it begs the question, what thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? Because your attention on those thoughts begins to reorganize circuitry, remold the brain. If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the old memories of the past, and you will be predictable in your life. And if you wake up in the morning and you're not being defined by a vision in the future, as you see the same people and you go to the same places and you do the exact same thing at the exact same time, it's no longer that your personality is creating your personal reality. Now your personal reality is affecting or creating your personality. Your environment is really controlling how you think and feel unconsciously. Because every person, everything, every place, every experience has a neurological network in your brain. Every experience that you have with every person produces an emotion. So some people will use their boss to reaffirm their addiction to judgment. They'll use their enemy to reaffirm their addiction to hatred. They'll use their friends to reaffirm their addiction to suffering. So now they need the outer world to feel something. So to change then is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than the conditions in your world. And the environment is that seductive. So then why is meditation the tool? Well, let's sit down, let's close our eyes. Let's disconnect from your outer environment. So if you're seeing less things, there's less stimulation going to your brain. If you're playing soft music or you have earplugs in, less sensory information coming to your brain, so you're disconnecting from your environment. And we have a huge frontal lobe, and it's 40% of our entire brain. And most people, when they have a thought, they just think that that's the truth. And I think one of my greatest realizations in my own journey was, just because you have a thought doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So if you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day, and we do, and 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before, and you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, your life's not going to change very much, because the same thought leads to the same choice leads to the same behavior creates the same experience, and the same experience produces the same emotion. And so then the act of becoming conscious of this process to begin to become more aware of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. It's called metacognition. And so then, why is that important? Because the more conscious you become of those unconscious states of mind and body, the less likely you're going to go unconscious during the day. And that thought is not going to slip by your awareness unchecked, because it means to know thyself. The word meditation means to become familiar with. So as you become familiar with the thoughts, the behaviors, and the emotions of the old self, you're retiring that old self. As you fire and wire new thoughts and condition the body into a new emotional state, if you do that enough times, it'll begin to become familiar to you. So it's so important, just like a garden. If you're planting a garden, you got to get rid of the weeds. You got to take the plants from the past year and you got to pull them out. The rocks that sift to the top that are like our emotional blocks, they have to be removed. The soil has to be tenderized and broken down. We have to make room to plant a new garden. So primarily, we learn the most about ourselves and others when we're uncomfortable. Because the moment you move into that uncomfortable state, normally a program jumps in. When that program jumps in, it's because the person doesn't want to be in the present moment and engage it consciously. So when you teach people how to do that with a meditative process, it turns out that when they're in their life, they're less likely to emotionally react. They're less likely to be so rigid and believe the thoughts they were thinking. They're more aware of when they go unconscious back into a habit, and that is what starts the process of change. And so we have to unlearn before we relearn. We have to break the habit of the old self before we reinvent a new self. We have to prune synaptic connections and sprout new connections. We have to unfire and unwire and refire and rewire. We have to unmemorize emotions that are stored in the body, and then recondition the body to a new mind and to a new emotion, like deprogram and reprogram. That's the act, and it's a two-step process. First of all, every time we have a thought, we make a chemical. And if you have an unlimited thought, you will feel unlimited. And if you have a self-depreciating thought, you'll feel unworthy. And your brain instantaneously fires circuits that signal another part of the brain to release peptides or chemical messengers that signal hormonal centers. And when we get that arousal from the thought that we think, those thoughts sometimes weaken, the response weakens the physical body. So turns out that the emotions that are created from the thoughts are the signaling mechanisms of the body. Thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. And how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. So it turns out that the thoughts based in the stress hormones, based in survival, those are the thoughts that begin to push the genetic buttons that create disease. In other words, a person wakes up in the morning, and the brain is a record of the past. The first thing they do when they wake up in the morning is they start thinking about their problems. And those problems are memories that are etched in the brain that are connected to certain people, certain objects, certain things at certain times and places. So if you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, the moment you think about your problems, you're thinking in the past, right? Mm-hmm. Now, every one of those problems has an emotion associated with them because we've experienced them. So the moment you remember your problems, now you feel unhappy. Now you feel anxious. Now you feel fear. So the moment we feel those emotions, it takes a thought and a feeling, a memory or an image and an emotion, a stimulus and a response, and we start conditioning the body emotionally into the past. Now the body is so objective that it doesn't know the difference between the real life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that person's fabricating by thought alone. The body's believing it's in that environmental condition. So if the environment signals the gene, and that's the truth, and the end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion, we're signaling the same genes, and genes make proteins. And if you keep signaling the same genes, you start down-regulating the gene to make cheaper proteins, and the body begins to break down. Now, that's an unconscious process. So what goes along with that is the moment the person feels that emotion of unhappiness or whatever it is, the brain checks in with the body and says, yeah, you're feeling pretty miserable, you're suffering. And we tend to generate more thoughts equal to the feeling that we have. And so then we get caught in this loop of thinking and feeling. So if we can't think greater than how we feel, or feelings have become the means of thinking, then we're thinking in the past, right? And so we call that the familiar past. And then a person gets going in the day and they start thinking, oh, I got to see this person. I got to go to that meeting. I hate doing this. And now they get in their routine. And a habit is a redundant set of automatic, unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that's acquired through repetition. A habit is when you've done something so many times that the body now knows how to do it better than the mind. So now the person running through the same routine every single day is on autopilot, and their body's now dragging them into a predictable future based on what they did in the past, and they've lost their free will to a set of programs, right? So now you have the familiar past and you have the predictable future. Those are knowns. So the only place then, reasonably, where the unknown exists is the sweet spot of the generous present moment. That is when the body and mind are free from those conditions. So along with those emotions that influence the same thoughts, people start becoming more judgmental. They start becoming more impatient. They start becoming more entitled. They start getting more afraid, more anxious, more depressed. And now the body is literally being depleted of energy because it's believing that it's living in an emergency situation. And in emergency, you tap all of the body's resources for some threat, whether it's real or imagined. And so then when you're releasing all of these chemicals, we are literally drawing the body's life force and turning it into chemistry. And so for the short term, that's cool. But the arousal that's created from those stress hormones is a rush of energy. And so then people use the problems and the conditions in their life to reaffirm their conditioning or their addiction to that emotion. And in a sense, they become addicted to the life they don't even like. And this is why change is so hard. So then when a person makes up their mind to change and they say, okay, I'm not going to say I can't, I'm not going to judge another person, I'm not going to blame, I'm not going to complain, I'm not going to make excuses, I'm not going to be a victim, I'm not going to talk trash about anybody, I'm just going to stop. Well, that works out really well for the first couple hours. Then the body's saying you're out of schedule. You normally at 8 in the morning, you're getting traffic and you're angry. Then at 11 o'clock, you check your emails and you're really judgmental and frustrated. And the body's saying, oh, well, you've been doing this for the last 20 years. You're just going to stop today. So now the body, which has been conditioned emotionally to be the mind, wants to return back to its familiar territory, to the known. So the body starts influencing the mind. And it says, come on, this is a good time to judge. Come on, this is a good time to suffer. It's your ex's fault. It's the government's fault. It's the weather, or the news, whatever it is. And if we accept, believe, and surrender to that thought without analyzing it, it slips by and it begins to program the autonomic nervous system to make those pharmacy of chemicals. And so that's when the person makes the same choice, does the same thing, creates the same experience just for that familiar feeling. Okay, I'll complain just so I can feel suffering. Then they'd rather be unhappy than step into the unknown, to step into possibility. And the hardest part about that process, first of all, is not making the same choices you did the day before. And here's the payoff. You got to stay conscious and not go unconscious. And it turns out that 95% of the time we're unconscious. So if you're going to stay conscious, then there's an element that also requires a certain amount of awareness or energy. And you got to step outside of that unconscious state. So the thoughts that they're thinking are slipping by their awareness unnoticed because they're hardwired in their brain, because they've been saying, I can't, it's too hard, my life will never change, it's someone else's fault. Those thoughts have consequences in the body. So then if a person then becomes conscious of those unconscious thoughts, becomes aware of how they speak and how they act, and they notice how they're feeling, they're no longer the program. They're the consciousness outside the program, and that's the first step to change. So when you're distracted by your environment and you got your cell phone and you're tweeting and you're Instagramming and Facebooking and whatever people do, you're distracted by that feeling. But I now know that if you take a person and you say, okay, close your eyes, sit in the silence of any external stimulation, remove the environment, sit your body down like an animal. Body is the animal. Tell it to stay. I'm going to feed you. You can check your cell phone, you can shower, you can have your coffee. But when I say, and so then here comes the challenge, right? So, and then if you say then you're not going to live in the familiar past or predictable future, you're not going to think about how long you've been meditating, what you got to do. You labor for that present moment. People think when they do this that they're doing something wrong because there's such discomfort that comes with it. But they're in the unknown. They're actually doing it right. People say, I think I'm meditating wrong. I always say, oh, no, you're doing it right. Because when you notice that your body wants to get up and check your cell phone or have a cup of coffee, and you become aware that it's on autopilot and wants to do that, and you say, come on over here, and you return it back to the present moment, you're executing a will now that's greater than the program. And if the person wants to just get angry while they're sitting there, there's an arousal, and they notice the body is amping up and revving up, and they settle it back down. Now they're telling the body it's no longer the mind, that they're the mind. Now, we've researched this, and it's tedious in the beginning at first because David is fighting Goliath. But if you keep practicing it, just like training an animal, sooner or later, the body acquiesces. Sooner or later, the body is trained to a new mind. And when that happens, there's a liberation of energy. The body goes from particle to wave, from matter to energy. And there goes that emotion, literally liberated from the body as energy. So the person who has the strong emotion to some circumstance in their life, and they're working on lowering the volume of that emotion, the more they lower the volume of that emotion, the more they're going to take their attention off that person and problem, and they're going to take their power back. There's going to be a break in their attention from that circumstance. And now they build their own field. And now there's energy to heal. Now there's energy to create a new life. Now there's energy for the mystical moment because they've overcome their old personality self. So I think, it's not like thinking positively. That's not the message.
No.
It's overcoming until we become somebody else. And when that occurs and the person starts thinking differently and they start acting differently and they start feeling differently, they're a new personality. And they start seeing those synchronicities and serendipities. Now, crossing that river of change, the creative process now gets exciting because what thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? What kind of attention and intention? When I'm going through change in my life or I have a specific outcome that I want to create, I love to get up early in the morning. That's my time. I'm a 4:30 in the morning guy because that's my time. The rest of the day I'm serving, but I love getting up early and changing and working and having some time to myself. And I believe that when I invest in myself, I invest in my future. And that time in my morning, nobody bothers me because that's my time. And because of brain waves and brain chemistry, the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is more open. And so if I get up early and I'm kind of between theta and alpha, I don't have to work as hard. I'm not thinking, I just kind of relax into the moment. In the evening, I always ask myself, how did I do? How was one lifetime in one day? Where did I fall from grace? What happened? And so then when I look at seeing how I reacted to someone or something, or I made the choice that I could have made a better choice, I naturally, and we all do this, begin to think, well, if the same situation happened again, how would I do it differently? And that's the act of beginning to come up with a new plan. The act of rehearsing it in your mind begins to install the circuits in your brain, priming your brain so that when the next experience happens, you could modify your behaviors to do a better job in life. That's called plasticity. So it doesn't matter for me what meditation I do any longer. I like to just get up in a new state of being. I have people say to me, hey, I missed my meditation today, like I'm supposed to go like this or something. And I say to them, eyes open or eyes closed. Eyes open or eyes closed. When you're passionate about something, when people can't get up in the morning and they can't get out of bed, I'm going to tell you why. Because they can predict the feeling of everything that's going to happen in their life. And their body's resigned to the familiar. It says, oh, another mundane day. But remember when you were a kid and you were going on a field trip? What happened then? You were up and dressed and ready to go before your parents were up. You know why? Because you knew something unexpected was going to happen. That's how we should live our lives. Waking up with the understanding to expect the unexpected, and something unusual should happen in our life as a result of our efforts. And it's just those beginning moments where it begins to happen that we begin to prove to ourselves how powerful we really are. So take time in the morning and the evening and the rest of the day. Check in with yourself at certain times to see if you're still in that energy. And if you're not, excuse yourself for a second, raise your energy, and step back into your life. And if you keep doing that over and over again, you'll become less frustrated, less impatient, less judgmental. It'll just become something of the past, and you'll be someone else.
The Newtonian world is all about the predictable. It's all about predicting a future. But the quantum model of reality is about causing an effect. The moment you start feeling abundant and worthy, you are generating wealth. The moment you're empowered and feel it, you're beginning to step towards your success. The moment you start feeling whole, your healing begins. And when you love yourself and you love all of life, you'll create an equal. And now you're causing an effect. And I think that's the difference between living as a victim in your world, saying, I am this way because of this person or that thing or this experience. They made me think and feel this way. When you switch that around, you become a creator of your world, and you start saying, my thinking and my feeling is changing an outcome in my life. And now that's a whole different game, and we start believing more that we're creators of reality.
I want to take a moment and teach you some basic tools to begin to change your life. When you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. Number one, take some time out of your busy lives to disconnect from your world. Shut your cell phone off, turn the TV off, power down your computer, sit your body down for a few minutes and close your eyes. Number one. Number two, take some breaths and center yourself. When you center your attention into the present moment, you have more energy to create with. When your mind wanders to the predictable future or the familiar past, that's normal. Just become aware of it and keep working on settling yourself back down into the present moment. When you're in the present moment, you're the most creative. Number three, ask yourself, can I be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past? What do I want in my life? And take the time to answer the question. As you begin to contemplate and think about the answer to the question, you're changing your brain. When you make your brain fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations, that's the beginning steps of changing your mind. Next, decide on the emotions you'll feel when you begin to create that future. And teach your body emotionally what that future is going to feel like. And don't get up until you begin to feel those emotions. Next step, step number 4, rehearse in your mind who you're going to be when you open your eyes, the things you have to do, the choices you have to make, the steps you have to take, and review them over and over again. Number 5, you can't go to the future holding on to the biology of your past. Decide what thoughts you can bring to your future. Write them down. Thoughts like, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change, I'll start tomorrow, what's wrong with me, it's someone else's fault. Decide on what behaviors or actions or unconscious habits you have to change. How do you talk? Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you make excuses? Do you feel sorry for yourself? Just become so conscious of those behaviors that you'll never go unconscious again. And lastly, you have to decide what emotions no longer belong in your future. That means if you want to be wealthy, you can't take lack. If you want to be healthy, you can't take insecurity or fear. You got to begin to condition your body to a new mind. If you do this every single day, your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. Change any one of those things and you change your life. And begin to measure the effects of you it cause. Give it a shot.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? The science says that when you just watch a video, you get motivated, you get inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through on your goals. 35%! That's not enough! That's not enough just to get motivated. Believe Nation, we're here, you're here. Today matters. You're in action. taker. When you commit to a plan of action of when and how you're going to follow through, when you write it down, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you commit publicly to somebody else, it jumps to 95% chance. From 30-something% to 95% chance of you following through. Believe Nation, we need to make this happen. So question of the day, your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action specific for the next week. Put it down in the comments below, and I'm going to show on screen sometime next week to celebrate you. The law of attraction definitely works. Most people just get it wrong. Most people only focus on the thinking part and not the most important part, which is the action, right? Law of attraction. It's the last 5 letters that matter. A-C-T-I-O, A-C-T-I-O-N. 6, the last 6 letters that matter. Action, action, action. Thinking about it alone is not enough. So it's the 2 parts. You get an idea. You want something into your life. You want to manifest something amazing. You want success in your business. You want a happy relationship. Awesome. You want to speak on giant stages. Whatever the thing is that you want in your life. Awesome. You have a vision board. Amazing. Just the fact that you're thinking about it and believing in it is already a big step ahead of where most people are. Most people live in a negative zone. Most people feel like their life is hopeless, that they can't make a change, that they're stuck where they are. And guess what happens? They stay exactly stuck where they are, right? What you focus on ends up becoming your reality. So yes, you're gonna focus on your new goal, your new habit, the new thing that you want into your life. Amazing. You believe that it's possible. Amazing. You're putting up a vision board with it on your wall. Amazing. You're researching and watching videos like this every day. Amazing. That's great. That's the first starting point. But nothing happens until you take action. Nothing happens until you take action. Thinking alone is not enough. Again, it puts you ahead of most of the world, puts you way ahead of them, but you're still just going to be this super smart, super ambitious person sitting at home not achieving your goals. You have to do something. I look at my YouTube channel as an example. My main channel, I want to get to 10 million subscribers. That's my next goal, right? We hit 1, we hit 2, I got to hit 10. At the rate that we're growing, it's not fast enough. Like, it's going to take me way too many years to make it happen. So I need to apply more pressure against it. So part of what I look at every day now in my morning routine is I want to hit my goal. I want to get 10 million subscribers on my YouTube channel, right? I want to be, one of the first thought leaders, experts, business person to have 10 million subscribers on a YouTube channel. It's my next goal. Great. Writing that down every day doesn't make sure that it's going to happen. What am I doing? Right? Writing it down can lead to thoughts that then lead to action. But what am I actually doing? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing now. One of the biggest things I'm working on now, big new initiative for my team, is I've got 6,000 public videos on my main channel. And I told my team this week, I want to go back and update all of the thumbnails and all of the titles across all my videos. That's a lot of videos, right? That's 6,000 videos. Imagine doing split tests on all of those videos. I asked for 10 a day. And so 2 key people on my team are working together to come up with what the titles are going to be. And then the other one's doing the graphic design to create the thumbnails. Maybe it works the first time, maybe it doesn't. And it's a big, ambitious project. If you think about it, we got 6,000 videos, 10 videos a day. In a year, if we did it for 10 videos every day, we're just over half of those videos, assuming that they all work out, which they won't. So this is our test. And if it works, awesome. I might have that become somebody's full-time job so that we can do 20 split tests a day, 40 split tests a day, 100 split tests a day. I don't know. But it's happening through action, right? So it starts with the idea. If you have the idea, but you're not taking action, you won't get results. If you just have the action, but you have no idea, you're running around with a chicken with your head cut off. You're going in circles without any clear direction. Most people think too much and don't do enough. That's most people. Some people do too much and don't think enough. Some people need more planning. But in general, most people are over planners. And so watching this video alone is not enough. It's a great start. It might boost your motivation. It might give you an idea to go off and try. Watching my content, watching Dan Lok's content alone is not enough. It's the essential first piece of the ingredient. It's essential. Surrounding yourself with people who build you up, who make you believe, who give you ideas you can act on, that allow you to feel like your goals are possible, that your dreams are within reach, is super important. I do it every day. It's why I create all these channels. I think you should too. You'll notice a difference in how you think every single day if you are creating content and consuming content that builds you up. But then you still have to go take the second step. It's why after every video, I have a question of the day or I have a 3-point landing question, because I want you to take action. You need to teach yourself that after every video you watch, after every podcast you listen to, after every book that you read, that's not enough. You have to do something about it. I'd rather you watch fewer videos, read fewer books, listen to fewer podcasts, consume less if you're taking action on the ideas that come to you. Because most people are just professional consumers. And it's great that you're consuming educational content, because most people are just consuming stupid content, right? You hate your life, so you go watch Netflix all day when you get home for 5 hours and then go to sleep, right? You're a professional consumer, but you're consuming wasteful content, just entertaining content. So you've already taken a step above, right? You're consuming educational content. That's the next step. You're consuming educational content. Amazing. But still, that alone is not enough. What separates the people who go off and achieve their dreams from the ones who just have things on a vision board is that last step of taking action. So you're not allowed anymore. Your new standards. You're raising your standards for yourself. You are not allowed anymore to watch a video, to read a book, to listen to a podcast, to consume anything without taking some kind of immediate action towards it. Immediate action, immediate action. It may not be the big thing. If you want to hit 1 million subscribers on your YouTube channel, great. What's the immediate action? Film a video today. Make an improvement to your thumbnail today. Reach out for an interview for someone today, right? Immediate action. Teach yourself that as soon as you get an idea, you do something about it, because that's the only thing that you're missing. The only thing that you're missing is momentum. If you're watching this channel, you believe in your talent, you know you're capable of more, you've got big goals, big ambitions, big dreams for yourself. The only thing you're missing is momentum. So to activate the law of attraction, pay attention to the last 6 letters, action, and start doing something about it.
When you have a goal in your head, it's not even a goal, it's a fantasy, it's a dream. When you have a book like this, you can call it your goal book, and you write out your goals and you go through it. I'm just about to take you through bit by bit, stage by stage. You go back to that book, you can look at it, you can touch it, you can just make it real. So remember, if you do not write out your goals as a plan and write out how to accomplish them, you don't have a goal. You have a wish, you have a dream, you have a daydream. If you want to go, get a pen, get a nice little book like this. You can do it on your phone too. You can make a document in your computer and be prepared to make your goals real. So let's start now. Get your book, pause this if you need to go and find one, create one. And I want you to pick a goal, and do not even start with, I want to lose 5 pounds, I want more money. These are what I call wishy-washy goals. No. If you can make your goals real, you might as well make them huge, big, enormous, phenomenal. So if you say, well, I want more money, that's my goal, I go, oh, hang on a minute. Hey, I got $10 here. There you go. You go, well, that's not my goal. But you said, I want more money. And I learned this when I used to work with women who were infertile that come in and go, you know, I just want to be pregnant. I want to be pregnant so bad. If I was just pregnant, I go, well, as I look at your notes, you've been pregnant 6 times. I know, I keep miscarrying. So being pregnant is not your goal, is it? What? Isn't your goal to carry to full term a healthy, robust, bouncing baby, to deliver a perfect baby, to be a great mum? Yeah, that's my goal. Well, why don't you say that? Because you can be pregnant lots of times and never have a baby, or you can say, my goal is to have a perfect baby. How about this? My goal is to get lots of attention. For what? A nervous twitch? Explosive gas? That will give you attention, but that's not what you want, is it? Nobody wants explosive gas. So let's start with a big goal. Pause if you need to. Take some time, open your book, and write out a big goal. Now, you can have a career goal on whatever. I'm going to have my own company, create my own business, invent something. You can have a relationship goal. My relationship is wonderful. We grow in loving and respecting each other. And you can have a health goal. But I want you to pick one, only one, not 3, not 5, not 10. One goal. It can be career, it can be health, it can be love. Pick one goal. And then I want you to decide why you want that goal so much. So the first thing is, I have a goal. I want to have my own business. That's my goal. And now you're going to go to the next page and write out why do you want to have your own business so much? And the more reasons you can write out why, the more likely you will make that goal real. So write down why. Write down as many whys as you can. And remember, you can come back any time to this and think, oh, I've thought of another why and another why. So leave plenty of space. Take your time. And when you've done your whys, go to another page and write out who will benefit from you achieving that goal. Of course, you will, but who? Who will benefit? For instance, if you have your own business, you will employ people who will benefit. Maybe your kids will go to private school. Maybe your business will allow you to help your partner have their business. The more people who will benefit from you achieving your goal, the more reasons you have to achieve that goal. So write out who will benefit from you achieving a goal. Who, how, and why will they benefit? You're going to buy your mum a house, put your niece and nephew through private school. Did you think of your mind as like the genie in the bottle that says, your wish is my command? And I want you to understand that every thought you think and every word you say is a blueprint that your mind, body, and psyche must make real. So when you write out your goals, don't say, I wish I could be rich. I long to be in a loving relationship. Write it as if it's already happening. I am a millionaire. I am in a loving relationship. You might go, well, that doesn't make sense. It does make sense because your mind only works in the present tense. When you say next year I'll have a bikini body, it doesn't know what next year is. And so you must write your goals in the present tense. I am, I always, I have, I do. This new page is about your discipline. How many hours a day are you going to spend working on your goal? How often are you going to come back to this book and look at it? I want you to write out, I am, I always, I have, I do, and I want you to fill that in. You see, the best goal in the world will not work if you don't work. And many people fail at this point. They write out a goal. My goal is to be a millionaire. My goal is to be famous. My goal is to be wildly in love. And they think that's it. It's not it. If you want to be madly in love, write out all the reasons why, but then you have got to put yourself in front of the kind of person you want to share your life with. If you want to start your own business and you have a reason why, you also need to have the discipline to meet people who will fund you, sponsor you, joint venture with you. So I want you to really understand that the best goal will not work if you don't work. You can have the start point, but you have to keep going. Many of the most successful people ever say, well, you know, I had a goal. Luther Vandross had a goal to be a rock star. And people said, well, you're an overnight success. He went, I don't think so. You know, I sang jingles for KFC for 12 years. That's a long night, 12 years. And people said, but Luther, you're singing on television. That's cool. You get paid a lot of money for KFC. He said, yeah, but it's not my goal. And he stuck it out. And many people have got so close to success and had to keep going. And you have to keep going. So look at your discipline and decide you will give more to your goal. Give even more. Work on it. Look at it. Write it out. Think about it. Talk about it. You must be prepared to give so much to your goal. In fact, you must be prepared to be unstoppable in the pursuit of your goal.
Let's talk about manifesting. We are all always manifesting. We're always attracting to us what we believe, the energy that we put out, the thoughts that we have. So when we're in a story of something that we do want, we feel good about it. We put out an energy to the world that says, I'm a yes for that. And then the universe responds by bringing it to us. But we're also putting out vibes and stories and thoughts and beliefs for things that we don't want. And that energy is attracting towards us what we don't want. There are 4 major blocks to your manifesting power. The first one is the manic manifester. This is the person who has all the self-help books next to their bed. They're repeating positive affirmations. They're meditating. They're constantly looking at a vision board. They're telling all their friends what they desire, but they're doing it with an energy that's needy and frantic. And that energy is what attracts. So while they think that they're doing all the right things, their energy and their belief systems and their vibration are not aligned with what they desire. And this is a major block to your manifesting power. The next block is the pushy manifester. The pushy manifester believes that if they're not overworking, that nothing will happen for them. The harder I push, the more I'll achieve. That is really a big block to our manifesting power, because when we're in that pushy vibration and we're trying to force something to happen, we're not receptive. We're not in a place of allowing. And we are telling the universe what our list is, but we're not allowing the universe to give to us what is of the highest good. Then there's the fearful manifester. Fear is an epidemic. We are constantly plagued by fear throughout our day. The second that we turn on the news, the moment we wake up in the morning, the story goes on repeat, the loop of all the things that are not working. We have 60,000 thoughts a day, and the majority of them are the same thought repeated over and over and over again. And all those fear-based thoughts block us from our attracting power. So when we're stuck in fear, we are majorly blocking what we want by staying stuck in the story of what we don't want. And the final block is the judgmental manifester. And this is the person who's comparing themselves to others, very jealous, talking negatively about other people, in some ways talking negatively to themselves about themselves. And that judgment is a form of separation. When we're judging, we're separating ourselves from others, but we're also separating ourselves from our true nature. Our true nature is a sense of feeling interconnected. And when we are in a state of judgment, we block that connection. How have these different blocks held you back from stepping into the person that you want to be and attracting what you want into your life? Let's start with addressing the manic manifester. Your job right now is to really just let go and allow. You can keep meditating and you can keep putting your vision board together and you can continue to affirm what you desire, but check in with your energy. See how that energy may be frantic and manic, and in those moments, take a deep breath, release it. You can even use the affirmation, I desire this now, and I give it over to the universe to present it to me. Let it go, allow, and surrender. To clear the block of the pushy manifester, it's important to start to accept that you are supported far beyond your wildest imagination. And when you meditate and you relax and you tune in through your stillness, you can start to feel a sense of a presence beyond your own. And that presence is the presence of love within you and around you. Now, if you identify as a fearful manifester, working through your fear is a lot easier than we think. The simple shift that begins this healing of our fear is to just witness it, just look at it. Just call it by its name. When we look at it, witness it, and call it out, we diffuse it. And the final block is the judgmental manifester. Start to want for others what you want for yourself. Start to see in others that their greatness is a reflection of your own.
The human brain doesn't know the difference between something you vividly imagine and something that's real. Have you ever had a very intense dream that wakes you up and your heart's beating out of your chest, or maybe you have trouble breathing? That's because the mind doesn't know the difference between, again, something vividly imagined and something that's real. Researchers will have a subject look at a dog that comes into the laboratory and see what parts of their brain light up. Then they'll take the dog out and give them an assignment saying, I want you to visualize a dog coming into the laboratory and just imagine it, and they'll see what parts of their brain lights up, and what do you think happens? The same part of their brain lights up. There was a study done at the University of Chicago where they took 3 groups of people and put them on a basketball court, and they just had them do free throws and saw how many points they scored. And what they did at the end is they went to group A, B, and C and gave them different instructions. They said to group A, for the next 30 days, I want you to practice for an hour a day. Go on the court and practice those free throws. They said to group B, I don't want you to go out on the court, but I still want you to practice every single day. but without touching a ball. I just want you to practice in your mind. See yourself, visualize yourself successfully throwing free throws. And they went to group C and said, we don't want you to practice at all. For the next 30 days, don't even think about basketball, don't touch a basketball. They followed up 30 days later and they saw surprising results. Group A, who practiced each day for an hour a day on the court, they improved 24%, right? Because practice makes progress. Practice makes progress. Group C, which was the group that didn't touch a basketball, and they didn't even think about basketball, there was no progress. No practice, no progress. What was striking though was Group B. Those individuals that didn't go on the court, they didn't put on their sneakers and throw the ball, they just practiced successfully in their mind, they improved 23%. Just 1% less than the people that actually went on the court to practice. I mean, this is evidence that your mind is powerful. You'll find that athletes, and we've talked about it in previous sessions, like Roger Bannister, they would visualize themselves having success. And so you'll find the great athletes, they don't just do physical training, they mentally train themselves to see the result in advance. So in this lesson, what I want you to do is practice the art of visualization. I want you to imagine the perfect day. What would a limitless day be like for you from the moment you get up to when you go to bed? Because if you could see it here, you could create it out here. Because what you vividly imagine, you're rehearsing. One of the challenges is a lot of people use their visualization to get the results they don't want in life. And by visualizing it over and over again, they're actually preparing and rehearsing for failure. Meaning that phrase that a coward dies 1,000 deaths, a hero dies only one, because the coward in this metaphor is visualizing all the things that could go wrong, all the things they're fearing, and then their attention goes there and they're mentally rehearsing failing on stage or failing on that exam or failing when they're going to meet that person on that date, and they're practicing in their mind. So that visualization is very, very potent.
Everything we as human beings have created on this planet was essentially first created in our minds. All that you see, which is human work on this planet, first found expression in the mind, then it got manifested in the outside world. The wonderful things that we have done on this planet and the horrible things that we have done on this planet, both have come from the human mind. So if we are concerned as to what we create in this world, it's extremely important that first of all we learn to create the right things in our mind, how we keep our minds. If we do not have the power to keep our minds the way we want it, what we create in the world is also going to be very accidental and haphazard. So learning to create our minds the way we want is the basis of creating the world the way we want. There is a wonderful story in the yogic lore. On a certain day, a man took a walk. He went for a long walk. Accidentally, unawares, he walked into paradise. Fortunate, isn't he? He just took a walk and he landed up in paradise. After this long walk, he felt little tired. So he thought, oh, I'm tired, I wish I could rest somewhere. He looked around, there was a nice tree, underneath which there was very cushiony grass. So it was inviting. He went and put his head down there and slept. After a few hours, he woke up, well rested, and he thought, oh, I'm well rested, but I'm feeling hungry, I wish I had something to eat. And he thought about all the nice things that he ever wanted to eat in his life. And instantly, all those things appeared in front of him. You need to understand, there the service is like that. Hungry people don't ask questions. Food came and he ate. Stomach became full. Then he thought, oh, my stomach is full, I wish I had something to drink. all the nice things that he ever wanted to drink. He thought about it and all of them just appeared in front of him. Drinking people also don't ask questions, so he drank. Now with a little bit of alcohol in him, you know Charles Darwin told you, all of you are monkeys, your tail fell away. Not me, Charles Darwin told you that you were all monkeys and your tail fell away and then you became human. Yes, definitely the tail fell away. But the monkey, in yoga, we always refer to an unestablished mind as Markata, which means a monkey. Why we are referring to the mind as a monkey is, what are the qualities of a monkey? One thing about a monkey is, it's unnecessary movement. And another thing about the monkey is, if I say you're monkeying somebody, what does it mean? Imitation. Monkey and imitation have become synonymous. So these two essential qualities of a monkey are very much the qualities of an unestablished mind. Unnecessary movement, you don't have to learn it from the monkey, you can teach it to the monkey. And imitation is full-time job of the mind. So when these two qualities are on, a mind is referred to as a monkey. So this monkey became active within him. He just looked around, thought, what the hell is happening here? I asked for food, food came. I asked for drink, drink came. There must be ghosts around here, and ghosts came. Oh, the ghosts have come, they're going to surround me and torture me, he thought. Immediately the ghosts surrounded him and started torturing him. Then he started screaming in pain and said, oh, they're going to kill me, and he died. Just now he said he's a fortunate being. The problem is he was sitting under a kalpavriksha or a wishing tree. He asked for food, food came, he asked for drink, drink came, he asked for ghost, ghost came, he asked for torture, torture came, he asked for death, death happened. Now don't go looking for these kalpavrukshas in the forest. You can barely find a tree these days. A well-established mind, a mind which is in a state of samyukti, is referred to as a kalpavriksha. If you organize your mind to a certain level of organization, it in turn organizes the whole system. Your body, your emotion, your energies, everything gets organized in that direction. Once all these four dimensions of you, your physical body, your mind, your emotion and the fundamental life energies are organized in one direction, once you're like this, anything that you wish happens without even lifting a little finger actually. It would help to assist it with activity, but even without doing any activity, you can still manifest what you want if you organize these four dimensions in one direction and keep it unwavering in that direction for a certain period of time. Right now the problem with your mind is, every moment it is changing its direction. It is like you want to travel somewhere and every 2 steps if you keep changing your direction, the question of you reaching the destination is very remote unless it happens by chance. So, organizing our minds and in turn organizing the whole system and these 4 basic dimensions of who you are right now in one direction, if you do this, you are a kalpavruksha yourself. Anything that you wish will happen. But right now, if you look at your lives, everything that you have wished for till now, if it happens, you have finished. Everything and everybody that you have desired for, if all of that lands up in your house today, could you live with that? Once we're empowered like this, it's very important that our physical action, emotional action, mental action and energy actions are controlled and properly directed. If it is not so, we become destructive, self-destructive. Right now, that is our problem. The technology, which is supposed to make our life beautiful and easy, has become the source of all the problem that we are destroying the very basis of our life, which is the planet. So what should have been a boon, we are making a curse out of it. what has brought incredible levels of comfort and convenience to us in the last 100 years or so, has also become a threat to our life simply because we are not conscious action, we are in a compulsive state of action. So organizing our minds fundamentally means moving from a compulsive state of activity to a conscious state of activity. You might have heard of people for whom they asked for something and beyond all expectations it came true for them. Generally this happens to people who are in faith. Now, let's say you want to build a house. If you start thinking, oh, I want to build a house. To build a house, I need 50 lakhs, but I have only 50 rupees in my pocket. Not possible, not possible, not possible. The moment you say not possible, you're also saying, I don't want it. So on one level, you're creating a desire that you want something. On another level, you're saying, I don't want it. So in this conflict, it may not happen. Someone who has some faith in a god or in a temple or whatever, who is simple-minded. Faith works only for those people who are simple-minded. Thinking people who are too much thinking, for them it never works. A childlike person who has a simple faith in his god or his temple or whatever, he goes to the temple and says, Shiva, I want a house. I don't know how, you must make it for me. Now in his mind there are no negative thoughts. Will it happen? Will it not happen? Is it possible? Is it not possible? These things are completely removed by this simple act of faith. Now he believes Shiva will do it for him and it will happen. So is Shiva going to come and build your house? No, I want you to understand, God will not lift his little finger for you. What you refer to as God is the source of creation. As a creator, he has done a phenomenal job, there's no question about it. Could you think of a better creation than this? Is it in anybody's imagination to think anything better than what is there right now? So as a creator, he has done his job wonderfully well. But if you want life to happen the way you want it, because right now, the very crux of your happiness and your well-being is this, if at all if you're unhappy, the only and only reason why you're unhappy is life is not happening the way you think it should happen. That's all it is. So if life is not happening the way you think it should happen, you're unhappy. If life happens the way you think it should happen, you're happy. It's as simple as that. So if life has to happen the way you think it should happen, first of all, how you think, with how much focus you think, how much stability is there in your thought, and how much reverberance is there in the thought process will determine whether your thought will become a reality or is it just an empty thought. Or how you do not create any impediments for your thought by creating negative thought process. This possible is something possible or not possible, is destroying humanity. What is possible and not possible is not your business, it's nature's business. Your business is just to strive for what you want.
If you want to know the real secret behind the law of attraction, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.